I'm 38 years old, divorced for about 5 years now, raising my 14-year-old daughter Lily mostly on my own. Her dad lives out of state and is barely present beyond sending birthday texts and the occasional child support check. It hasn't been easy, but we manage. I work full-time. Lily is a good kid, smart, funny, a little introverted, and we've always been close, at least until this year. A few months ago, things started to change. She became withdrawn. Her grades dropped a bit. She stopped wanting to talk to me about her day. I chalked it up to teenage mood swings, puberty, hormones, high school stress. I tried to give her space while still being supportive, but something about the shift in her energy didn't sit right. That's when she started mentioning her English teacher, Miss Harper. Lily would talk about her constantly. At first, I was actually grateful. This teacher sounded amazing. Young, passionate, cool, but caring. She even stayed after school to help students who were struggling. Lily went from hating English to saying she wanted to become a writer. She even started journaling, something she hadn't done in years. I didn't think. Honestly, I was relieved someone was getting through to her. Miss Harper, we all wish we. Then, about 6 weeks ago, I got an email from the school saying Miss Harper was being displaced. Budget cut. Her lease was also ended. Lily was devastated. She begged me to let her stay with her just until. But then Miss Harper, she came over, sat on my couch, and told me how she cared about her student, about Lily, and she said she had no family near, couldn't afford rent on her salary, and just needed a few weeks to figure things out. She offered to pay rent while she got another job, help out around the house, even cook if she was charming, disarming. Honestly, a little magnetic. Against my better judgment, I said yes. She moved into our guest room 2 days later. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was being kind. But that decision might be the biggest mistake of my life. At first, it went surprisingly well. Miss Harper, Erin as she asked me to call her, settled in quickly. She helped around the house, did the dishes without being asked, cooked dinner twice a week, and even offered to tutor Lily in other subjects. My daughter lit up again, laughing over dinner, asking Erin questions, sharing stories from school that she hadn't bothered to tell me in months. It felt good, almost too good. I tried to brush that thought away. I reminded myself I was being cynical. Erin was a 29-year-old teacher who'd hit hard times. She was just grateful. She was just trying to help. But small things started to bother me. She was always there. I'd get home from work, and she'd already be sitting on the couch with Lily, watching movies, eating popcorn. When I walked in, they'd go quiet, like I was intruding. Sometimes I'd hear them whispering behind closed doors, giggling, then silence when I got close. I chalked it up to bonding. Maybe I was just feeling like, maybe I was jealous in some twisted maternal way. I didn't want to admit it, but it started to feel like she was replacing me. Then came the weird boundary-crossing moments. One night, I walked into Lily's room without knocking, something always done. She was sitting on her bed, and Erin was brushing her. My daughter's head was in her lap, and they both froze when I walked in. It was probably innocent, but the way they looked at me, guilty, startled, sent a chill down my spine. After that, I started locking my bedroom door at night. Then, last week, I came home early. I was supposed to have a late meeting, but it got canceled. I didn't tell anyone I was coming back. I walked in through the front door to silence. No music, no TV. The house felt still in a way it rarely did. That's when I noticed the guest room door, Erin's door, was locked, and Lily's bedroom door was wide open. I stood in the hallway, confused. Then I heard it. Whispers. Muffled. Low, coming from behind that locked door. I stood there for a solid minute, trying to process it, trying to convince myself I was being paranoid, that there was some other explanation, but my gut wouldn't let it go, so I did something I've never done before. I walked into the kitchen, found the small key we keep for the guest room, and quietly unlocked the door. I didn't even need to open it all the way, because what I saw in that narrow slice of space, it stopped my heart cold. I didn't open the door all the way, just a few inches, enough to see the outline of 2 bodies on the bed, sitting close together. Erin was propped up against the headboard, barefoot, hair tied back messily like she hadn't planned to be seen. And Lily was lying beside her, curled up against her side with her head on Erin's chest. Erin had one arm around her. They were whispering. Her fingers were stroking Lily's shoulder gently, rhythmically, like a habit, like something she'd done before. I didn't barge in. I didn't scream. I closed the door quietly, locked it again from the outside, and walked straight back into the kitchen like a ghost. I stood there gripping the counter, trying to make sense of what I'd just seen. It wasn't anything explicit. They were fully clothed. They weren't kissing, but it was intimate. Too intimate for a teacher and student. Too intimate for 2 people with a 15-year age gap, one of whom was still my hands were shaking. All the puzzle pieces from the last few weeks started snapping together with terrifying clarity. The way Lily had started dressing more, the private conversation, the hairbrush, the shift in her personality, how she'd stopped confiding in me and started seeing her as the safe space. It was like Erin had carefully carved out a place in my daughter's world that used to belong to me, and then took it a step further. I didn't know what to do. I didn't even know what this was. Was it grooming? Emotional manipulation? Or was I just reading too much into something that wasn't there? But then I'd remember the way Aaron touched her, the way Lily looked at her like she hung the moon. I waited an hour before Lily came out, alone, hair slightly tousled, cheeks flushed like she'd been crying or laughing hard. I asked her, as casually as I could manage, what they were doing in there. She just said, "Talking." I nodded, said nothing else. Aaron didn't leave the room for the rest of the night. That evening, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept looping through every moment since Aaron had moved in, replaying things I'd brushed off, things I'd excused. Like the time I found a note in Lily's backpack that I thought was from a friend. It had said, "You make me feel safe. I wish I could be around." I'd assumed it was from another girl in her class. Now I wasn't so sure. The next day, I called the school, not to make a formal complaint. Not yet. I just said I was confused about Erin's employment status and asked whether she was still technically on staff. They told me she wasn't. Her contract ended 3 weeks ago. She wasn't employed anywhere else either, so she had no reason to still be spending time with students, certainly not this much time with mine, and yet, she was still living under my roof. That's when the dread turned to fear, because I realized I'd let someone into my home, into my daughter's life, without really knowing who she was. And now? Now I was afraid it might already be too late. The next morning I sat on the edge of my bed for over an hour, staring at the guest room door across the hall. I couldn't pretend anymore. Whatever was happening between Aaron and Lily wasn't just a close bond or an innocent mentor-student connection. There was something deeper, something wrong, wrapped in layers of manipulation and blurred lines that I should have seen sooner. I wanted to confront her, but how? What would I even say? If I accused her of something, she'd just deny it, spin it like I was misreading a pure friendship. If Lily backed her up, then what? My own daughter would think I was the villain. Still, I had to try. Around noon, Erin came out of her room. She was barefoot again, wearing one of Lily's oversized hoodies, her hair still damp from a shower. She smiled at me like everything was perfectly normal, asked if I wanted coffee. That smile made my skin crawl. I told her we needed to talk. Her face didn't change, her shoulders stiffened. She sat across from me at the dining table, crossed her legs like she was settling in for a casual chat. I started by asking her how her job search was going. She paused, just a split second too long, before saying she had a few leads but nothing solid. I asked if she'd considered moving out soon. That's when she frowned, said Lily had mentioned I was acting weirdly, and asked if there was something wrong. I tried to stay calm, told her Lily was just going through a lot, and that maybe, just maybe, it would be healthier to stay. Something about the energy in the house didn't feel right anymore. Her response chilled me. She didn't argue. She didn't get defensive. She just smiled again, softer this time, and said, "You're scared of what you don't understand." I didn't reply. I couldn't, because the way she said it, it wasn't smug, it was patient. Like she thought I was a child throwing a tantrum over something I wasn't mature enough to comprehend. Like she knew better than I did what was good for my daughter. That's when I realized she wasn't planning on leaving. In her mind, I was the one in the way. Later that evening, I checked Lily's phone while she was in the shower. I'd never done that before. I've always tried to respect her privacy, but something in my gut told me I had to look. And what I found shook me. Hundreds of messages between her and Aaron. Not just school talk or writing advice. Full conversations. Late-night messages. Inside jokes. Secret nicknames. Voice notes that started with, "I miss you already." And then one that broke me. "If she ever makes you choose, you know I'll always be here for you. We don't need her to understand us." That was sent from Aaron. To my 14-year-old daughter. I dropped the phone. For the first time since this started, I felt real panic. Like something was slipping out of my hands and I couldn't grab it fast enough. Erin wasn't just some overly attached teacher. She was embedding herself into my daughter's identity, rewriting her sense of love, safety, family. I couldn't just kick her out. I had to find a way to protect my daughter, without losing her in the process. Because I was starting to think, if I made the wrong move, Lily wouldn't just resist. She might choose her. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking of how Erin had wormed her way into every corner of our lives. Every moment I thought I was giving Lily space, being the cool mom, staying out of the way, I was really handing her over. I let this woman walk through our front door like a guest, and now she was acting like she owned the place, owned my daughter. By morning, I had a plan. Not a good one, not even close. But it was something. I started with boundaries. At breakfast, I told Erin and Lily that I needed to start using the guest room again. Claimed I was going to turn it into a home office, that I needed space for my remote work. Erin smiled politely, said she understood, but Lily's face fell. She looked betrayed. Later that afternoon, I pulled Lily aside. I didn't mention the messages or the locked door or anything specific. I just asked if she was okay, if anything had been happening lately that she didn't know how to talk about. She stared at me like I was speaking another language. Then, without hesitation, she said, "You don't like her, do you?" I froze. She didn't wait for an answer. "She actually listens to me," she said. "She sees me. Not like you. You're always trying to fix me. It hit me like a punch in the stomach. That she believed that Erin had filled her head with this narrative where I was the enemy, and she was the savior. I tried to stay composed. I told Lily I just wanted her to be safe, and she said, I am safe. With her. I had to step away after that. I went into the bathroom and locked the door just to breathe. My own daughter didn't trust me anymore. Worse, she trusted Erin more. That night, I emailed the school again. I asked for Erin's employment file, said I was considering a formal report, and wanted to understand the scope of her role during the time she taught Lily. The school secretary replied within an hour. She said Erin had been on a probationary contract with glowing evaluations at first, but apparently there had been a parent complaint just before her contract ended. Vague details, nothing documented formally, but there were concerns about inappropriate emotional boundaries with students. Nothing provable, so they just didn't renew her contract. They let her fade away quietly, and now I knew why she had nowhere else to go. Why she clung so hard to Lily. She'd done this before. The next morning I called a therapist. Not for Lily, for me. Because I realized if I wanted to pull my daughter back, I couldn't just storm in like a cop with evidence and threats. That would push her further away, right into Erin's arms. This wasn't just about protecting Lily from Erin anymore. It was about slowly, carefully, showing Lily what love really looked like. The fight for my daughter had officially begun, but I was going to play the long game. I started documenting everything. Times, dates, screenshots of messages, even voice memos I secretly recorded when Erin would speak too softly around Lily. Always just out of my hearing, but never quite far enough. It felt wrong, sneaky, like I was violating my own house. But I needed a paper trail. Something undeniable. Not for the police, not yet, but for Lily. For the day she would need the truth laid out in front of her. Clean and inarguable. In therapy, I broke down during the first 10 minutes. I didn't even try to act composed. I told the therapist everything. How I let Erin move in, how quickly she replaced me, how Lily had changed. She looked me in the eye and said, "This is not your fault, but it is your responsibility now." That was a wake-up call. So I took a new approach. I stopped pushing. I stopped asking Lily questions that made her shut down. I stopped showing my discomfort around Erin. Stopped giving her any reaction at all. Instead, I pulled Lily back into old routines. I made her favorite meals. Took her out for Saturday morning drives like we used to. Talked about books and music and stupid memes. I made space for her, not her and Erin. I wanted to remind her that she had a mother before this woman showed up. And slowly, I saw flickers of my daughter again. Not all the time. Sometimes she was cold, especially when Erin was around. But when they were apart, when it was just me and Lily, she laughed again. Not that brittle, tight laugh she used with Erin. A real one, like muscle memory. It gave me hope. But it also made Erin more careful. She noticed. I caught her watching us from the hallway once. Silent, calculating. Then came the turning point. One night, Lily was in the shower. Erin was in the kitchen alone, scrolling on her phone. I walked in to grab a glass of water, trying to ignore her presence entirely. She didn't even look up when she spoke. She tells me things she doesn't tell you, you know. My spine stiffened. Still, I didn't respond. She trusts me. That's why you're threatened. It was said so calmly, like a fact, like weather. I turned to her slowly and said nothing, just stared. She finally looked up, and the smile on her face was wrong. Not mocking, not cruel, just confident, possessive, like I was a nuisance, temporary. In her mind, I wasn't Lily's mother anymore. She was. That was when the last shred of doubt in me disappeared. This wasn't just emotional manipulation. This was obsession, and she wasn't going to leave on her own. Not ever. That night, I wrote a letter. Not to the police, yet, but to Lily, just in case. I kept it tucked inside my sock drawer, labeled only with her name. I didn't want to scare her, but something in my gut told me this was heading toward a moment when I wouldn't get the chance to explain everything out loud. Erin wasn't just a house guest anymore. She was deeply rooted, and people like her, they don't leave unless they're forced to. But I couldn't force her out, not without taking Lily down with her. So I played the part, smiling, cooking, letting Erin think I'd given up. But behind the scenes, I'd started reaching out. I contacted the parent who had made the earlier complaint to the school. I found her through a Facebook group for parents of high schoolers. We talked late one night on the phone, both of us whispering like scared teenagers. She said her son had been in Erin's class the year before. Said Erin had started giving him extra attention, inviting him to her apartment after school to work on college essays. Nothing physical happened, but he became obsessed with her. Fell into a depression when she pulled away. He failed his finals. Had to repeat a year. The school had swept it under the rug. She told me, "If you think she's done nothing wrong, you're wrong. She knows exactly how to pick them." I asked her to write a statement. She agreed. I started building a case. Meanwhile, Lily's behavior shifted again. One morning, I walked into her room while she was getting ready for school. She was sitting on her bed, staring at her phone. When I asked if she was okay, she didn't answer right away. Then she said, barely above a whisper, "Erin told me she's going to leave soon." My heart stopped. I asked her why. She shrugged. She said she doesn't feel welcome anymore. She said you don't like her. I held my breath, carefully asked, "And how do you feel about that?" Lily's eyes filled with tears before she could stop them. She said you don't understand what we have. And there it was. What we have. Not had. Not friendship. Not mentorship. What we have. Present tense. Intimate. I knelt beside her. I wanted to scream, shake her, tell her this wasn't love. This was grooming. But if I did that, I'd lose her completely. So I said, the only thing I could, "You're not in trouble. You never will be. I just want you safe. That's all I care about." She didn't answer, just nodded, barely, then turned away. Later that night, I found a small note on my nightstand in Lily's handwriting. Just one sentence. "Please don't make her leave." And for the first time in my life, I felt afraid of my own child's heartbreak, because I knew what had to come next, and it was going to destroy her before it saved her. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Not because I wanted to sue or press charges yet, but because I needed to know exactly what my rights were, how far I could go, what Erin could legally do, what I could legally do. I told the lawyer everything, her living situation, the messages I'd found, the school history, the emotional hold she had on my daughter. He didn't hesitate. His words were sharp. "You need to get her out of your house. Immediately." But that was the problem. I couldn't just kick her out without risking Lily falling apart. If Erin spun it the right way, which I knew she would, Lily would believe I was destroying the one connection she had left. And in her 14-year-old mind, that would make me the monster. So I asked the lawyer if it could have Erin removed without confrontation, quietly, strategically. His advice was simple. Send her a formal 30-day notice to vacate. Keep it clean, no emotion, just paperwork. I did it that same night. Printed it out, folded it neatly, and slid it under her door after everyone had gone to bed. The next morning, she didn't come out of her room. She didn't make coffee, didn't say a word to me or Lily, but I heard her pacing. All day. Quiet, deliberate pacing like a caged animal. Lily noticed. When I picked her up from school, she asked if I had said anything to Erin. I told her I'd asked her to find another place to stay, gently but firmly, and Lily broke down. Not just tears, full-on sobbing, hyperventilating in the passenger seat of my car, like her world was ending. She didn't speak for the rest of the drive home. When we walked in, Erin was waiting, still in her calm, smile plastered on her face like it had been superglued there. She looked at Lily, not me, and said, "Do you want me to go?" Lily shook her head so fast it looked painful. Then Erin turned to me and said, "See? She doesn't want me to. Maybe you're the one who should go." It was like a slap to the face, in my own house. I stayed silent. I didn't rise to it. I walked past her, poured myself a glass of water, and pretended I hadn't just been replaced in the eyes of my daughter. But later that night, after Lily went to bed, Erin knocked on my door. She came in without waiting for me to answer, and she sat down in the chair across from my bed like we were equals. Like this was her home, too. "You're making a mistake," she said. I asked her what she meant. "I've done more for Lily in a month than you've done in a year. She needs me. You're just making it harder for her to be happy." I stared at her, my fists clenched under the covers. I wanted to scream. "She's a child," but I knew she wouldn't hear it. I was talking to a woman who had already rewritten the rules of reality to justify what she was doing. She stood up, brushed imaginary lint off her hoodie, and said, "You'll see. You're just scared of losing her. But she's already gone." And she walked out. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was scared of her, but because, for the first time, I was scared of what Lily might do when she realized Erin was leaving. Because whether I liked it or not, Erin was right about one thing. She had Lily completely, and I was running out of time to undo it. I didn't leave my room the next morning. I heard them, Lily and Erin, talking in the kitchen, quietly, like co-conspirators. The clinking of spoons, the fridge opening, and then silence. That awful kind of silence where you know your name is being spoken, just too softly to hear. At 10:17 a.m., I got a text from Lily. "I'm going to school early with Erin. We'll talk later." She never goes in early. An hour later, I walked into the kitchen and found it spotless, like no one had ever lived here. Erin's coffee mug, her chipped green one that she always left in the sink, was gone. Her coat, her bag, her books, everything. I ran to the guest room, empty, dresser drawers bare, sheets stripped, closet door hanging open like a mouth mid-scream. The only thing left was a bobby pin on the floor and the faintest smell of her shampoo on the pillow. She was gone. No warning, no goodbye, no confrontation, just gone. I stared at that room for a long time. Part of me felt relief, but not the kind I expected. Not the triumphant, "I took my home back." This was the kind of relief that comes after surviving a car crash. Bruised, bleeding, shaking, but alive. But Lily hadn't texted me all day. Not during school. Not after. That night, she came home late. She walked through the front door like she didn't live here. Her face was pale, eyes swollen. I opened my mouth to speak, but she raised a hand and walked right past me, straight to her room, locked the door. I didn't see her again until the next morning. When she came out, her eyes were glassy, her voice barely a whisper when she asked, "Did you make her leave?" I didn't lie. I told her yes, that I'd given Aaron notice, that I was worried, that I didn't think it was safe anymore. She looked at me like I was someone else. "I loved her," she said. Not in anger, not in rebellion, just a soft, sad fact. I didn't respond. I couldn't. I wanted to say, "You're 14. You don't even know what that means yet." But I didn't, because to her it did mean something. Whether it was real love or emotional manipulation, Lily felt it, and that pain, it was hers. She left the house again without saying goodbye. I called her school an hour later. She hadn't shown up. I drove the neighborhood, called her friends. Nothing. I was seconds away from calling the police when I got a text. "I'm okay. I just need time. Don't try to find me." Panic gripped me like a vice, because I knew exactly where she'd gone, and Aaron hadn't really left after all. She was waiting, and Lily had chosen her. I called the police. My hands were trembling so badly I could barely hold the phone steady. I gave them everything: Lily's age, her school photo, the name and last known address of Aaron Harper. I told them she was missing, possibly with an adult who had been staying in our home. I was calm, factual, but inside I was splitting apart. They told me to stay put. Officers arrived 20 minutes later. They asked the same questions I'd already gone over in my head 1,000 times. How long had Aaron been staying with us? When did Lily leave? Why did I believe she might be in danger? And I gave it to them, all of it. The messages, the screenshots, the parent complaint from the year before, the manipulation, the control. I showed them the letter I'd written, tears staining the corner. That's when everything started moving fast. Turns out Erin did leave the house that morning, but she hadn't gone far. A neighbor's security cam caught her packing her car in the early hours. They spotted her sedan on a highway exit camera 3 towns over just 2 hours later. The officers kept me updated. Every ping from Lily's phone was monitored, but it had been turned off not long after that last text. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sit. I just paced, over and over, like the movement would keep her tethered to me somehow. Then, at 2:16 a.m., I got the call. They'd found her. She was safe. She and Aaron were spotted at a rest stop, 60 miles out of town. A trucker had seen Aaron sitting too close to a young girl who looked upset, and flagged it. Said it didn't feel right. That man, I don't know his name, but I owe him everything. The police brought Lily home. She didn't look at me when she came through the door. She wouldn't speak. She walked straight to her room and shut the door without a word. But she was home. Aaron was arrested on the spot, charged with contributing to the delinquency of a minor custodial interference, and being under investigation for inappropriate contact with a minor. The messages, the emotional overreach, the school complaint, every piece of it finally mattered. The school denied knowing how far things had gone. They sent out a formal statement, offered counseling. It was all too late. For weeks, Lily barely spoke to me. She was empty, grieving something she didn't have words for. But I didn't push her. I stayed near. I made dinner, folded her laundry, left the door open just enough for her to feel my presence without stepping into it, and slowly came back. One night, about a month later, I found her on the back porch wrapped in a blanket. She looked up and said, "She said you'd never understand." "But you did." Didn't respond. I just sat next to her and held her hand, because I didn't need her to say sorry. I didn't need her to explain. I just needed her safe. It's been 6 months. She's seeing a therapist now. We're rebuilding. There are good days and quiet ones. She still doesn't like to talk about Aaron. I don't ask, but I see her now. The real Lily, not the one caught in someone else's gravity. As for Aaron, she's awaiting trial. And me? I still double-check the locks every night. Still wake up sometimes wondering how close I came to losing my daughter. Not to death, but to someone who convinced her love looked like isolation and control. I still blame myself for opening that door. But I'm the one who closed it too. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's what being a mother really means. Update. For everyone who's asked. Yes, Lily read the letter. She left a sticky note on my nightstand after she did. It said, "I didn't understand before. I do now. Thank you for not letting go." I kept it, framed it actually, right beside her baby photo. Because no matter how far she wandered, how lost she got, she found her way back to me, and that's the only ending that ever mattered.